Our guest today is Dr. Gersham Nelson. He is the co-founder of Naculva International Alumni Association, Inc. He is an accomplished author and has a very extensive resume as a professor, as a dean at a number of distinguished colleges. Dr. Nelson, you spent your formative years in Jamaica prior to migrating to the United States. What was your experience transitioning from Jamaica to the U.S.?
Your question. So, I'll be responding on the question: how did I transition from Jamaica to Canada to the United States?
Okay.
And that makes it a wee bit easier, I think, than to have transitioned from Jamaica to the United States.
Yes.
Transitioning from Jamaica to Canada, I thought was relatively easy. Canada being a member of the Commonwealth of Nations with Jamaica. And so during the years when I made the trip from Jamaica to Canada, I found that there were a number of Jamaicans and other folks from the Caribbean in Canada, and culturally there was an easy connection. The transition from Canada to the United States was a wee bit more challenging. Nevertheless, as an academic, I made the transition rather quickly, remembering the strength and depth of our culture. It seems to have been satisfactory. I transitioned to Chicago, and there in Chicago, although there were relatively few Jamaicans and folks from the Caribbean, there were enough to allow for the cultural energy to continue.
Okay. So thank you for that. Now, how important is it to you that we maintain our cultural traditions?
As a matter of fact, it is critical.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that we're celebrating Black History Month. We did that last month, but I think John said we should be celebrating Black history every day of the year. I agree with that. In fact, the fact that we do have Black History Month is indicative of neglect, centuries of neglect. And so we have more to catch up with than time will allow. It is critical that we unearth our history and our culture in order to understand ourselves and in order to make sure that the future does not reflect the past.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And our children in particular need to know. Yes, thank you. Now, we're going to move on from there. After you married your beautiful wife in New York, you decided to set out to Chicago, as you said earlier, the Windy City. I'm interested to know, why Chicago?
Oh, that's a very easy answer.
Okay.
I had transferred from the University of Manitoba to the University of Illinois at Chicago to do graduate studies.
Yes.
My wife had gone to Andrews University, and she was transitioning to Hinsdale Hospital to do her practicum.
I see.
And so Chicago was the obvious destination at that stage of our lives.
So it was practical reasons. Very good.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Thank you. As an advocate, then, of the liberal arts in education, please elaborate on the importance of teaching liberal arts in our schools and colleges.
Well, very frequently, one will hear these days about STEM and sometimes STEAM. And whereas science is critical, engineering is critical, mathematics is critical.
Yes.
There is no way we can, as human beings, address some fundamental issues, probably the most critical issues of ethics and of culture, of identity, without the liberal arts, without the humanities. So it's a mistake to think that you can separate the sciences from the arts. Indeed, there are many of the artistic expressions that can't be separated from science and vice versa.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I advocate what is referred to as liberal learning, pardon me. And liberal learning means that you have a foundation in the arts and sciences. So on the one hand, as there are advances in science predicated upon mathematical formulas, you do have ethics to help individuals make decisions with regards to what is appropriate for human beings.
Exactly.
And indeed, if we fail to do that, we will simply plot our own demise.
Yes. Hence the term humanities. It's what makes us human. So absolutely
Correct.
agree. Thank you for that. Now, your resume is so very extensive. It's impossible to go through all of it. But you served as the Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities and Social Sciences at the University of Central Missouri. And we would all love to hear more about your tenure there.
I'll tell you, it is one of the most exciting positions I've had. I served in that position for over 10 years, and it provided me the capacity to not only build disciplines, departments, and programs, but it allowed me to interface with other colleges, disciplines, and with the community at large, linking students with professional life and linking philanthropic entities and individuals to the university.
Yes.
Just about every aspect of the university came into play because the arts, humanities, and social sciences represented the basic foundation of the institution. And we had to envision a world where not only are we transferring knowledge, but we were creating new knowledge. And you asked a critical question about the humanities earlier. And in the space where you create new knowledge, it is important that we are constantly asking the question, to what end? So we developed the atomic bomb during the early part of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And the question is, to what end?
Indeed.
And what if it is misused? And we are now in a space where we're on the cusp of something that is epic. We talk about artificial intelligence. We talk about using science to create robots that transcend just robotic functions to emulating human beings without ethics, without the humanities.
Yes.
We are bound to destroy ourselves.
Absolutely.
So as Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, it was the responsibility of my folks, my faculty, and my students to represent a balance at the university and to represent a balance in intellectual discourse about science and about ethics.
Wonderful. You put it so well. You know, we are actually creating things that could eventually destroy ourselves. You very well said. Now, this is moving to something else, I'm sorry. You are an accomplished author, and you have written several books. One such book is titled The Rules of Engagement. If you don't mind, would you give us a brief summary and explain your purpose in writing that book?
All right, so I wanted to switch and share with you something about legacy of 1492 because it really encompasses the notion of rules of engagement. Basically, it's important that folks understand this, especially the marginalized folks in our society, that stories and history are written by the victors.
Mm-hmm.
So when stories are created, not by those who are victimized or those who are marginalized, but those who triumph, those who are victorious. It is their perspective that gets disseminated.
Yes.
When one thinks of the history of Africans in the diaspora, what I just said is multiplied several folds. In other words, the history that was told did not, in some instances, include Africans of the diaspora. On the contrary, they were mostly excluded. And when they were included, the representations were terribly biased,
Yes.
demeaning, and depreciated them.
That's
So
true.
it becomes critical for us to understand those basic rules, those basic principles that are largely inaccurate. So we must tell our story ourselves, and we must delve into the hidden gems to discover ourselves, to discover our stories, and to present our stories to the world. The challenge is huge. During the 1950s, there were agitation for the creation of Black history programs around the country because of this. And fortunately, a number of Black history programs were created, and historians, Black historians mostly, set about to delve into research and find out their history. What has come forth in many cases is startling. So we're beginning to rediscover elements of our history that had been neglected. In fact, when we listen to the political discourse over the past couple of years, one despairs because not only are books being banned, because they are unveiling and exposing all kinds of atrocities and neglect, but they're also reversing much of the progress that was made between the late 1950s and the beginning of the 21st century. And so we have this incredible challenge that faces us. And again, going back to the legacy of 1492, which is the book I'm commenting on, it addresses some of those fundamental issues that marginalized peoples around the world experience.
Very, very good. Yes, I would definitely recommend that everyone purchases your books, all of them, if possible. Okay, and where can they find it? These books.
Okay, so the one I've been talking about, Legacy of 1492, may be difficult to come by. I published that one in I think that was 1994.
Okay.
My most recent book, however, is The Evolution of God in Human Imagination, which is readily available. One goes online, one can get it through Amazon, but one can also secure it through the actual publisher, who is Archway Publishing.
Great.
Again, and that book is really worth the read.
Yeah.
Again, I repeat the title, The Evolution of God in Human Imagination. Most of our people are deeply religious. And I'm suggesting in that book that the religion has played a pivotal role in our oppression. It reveals the whole process of human beings appropriating the role of the divine and, in fact, using that power to pursue personal interests.
Yes. As a Christian myself, I do see a difference between religion and really knowing the Lord in a personal way. You know, it's totally different.
That is so true. And if you permit me, I'll just throw a couple of items out so that the listening public can get a sense of how religion has been misused. If you ask yourselves a question, what caused the colonial system to develop and flourish the way it has, and with it a system of slavery?
Yes.
And you can trace colonialism back to the Crusades. What were the Crusades about? Well, the Crusades represented exploration and conquest orchestrated by the Christian church. And of course, the Christian church at that period of time meant the Church of Rome. The Crusades established the foundation, created the model, if you will, for colonization which would come later. The very institution of slavery was approved, if you will, by the Roman Church. And so the system that evolved and became incredibly powerful by the 18th and 19th centuries were generally led by the church, the Western civilization led by the Christian church.
Yes.
Now, the Christian church itself exploded, and you had multiple elements, the two major ones being Catholicism and Protestantism. But it didn't matter whether you were Protestant or Catholic. Both branches of Christianity supported slavery.
Yes.
Then you had some subsets of each ultimately fighting against slavery, but to the end you had Christians on both sides of the fence with regards to that particular issue.
Yes.
You had Christians on both sides of the fence of exploitation. That is the case today.
Yes, it's true.
What we have inherited.
Yes.
So Christianity in its institutional form is no guarantee against oppression.
Yes, there was definitely misuse of religion in exploiting us and others. But I believe that we all need to know the Lord for ourselves, personally get to know him as a Christian. That's my belief. You know, coming to know the Lord yourself. Because everything...
Chime in here for a minute.
Yeah, let me just say, everything can be exploited. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I tend to agree with you, Doctor, because, and it all started with that ship, right? The ship that was sent, that first ship that was sent from England called Jesus.
Okay, so that is to a certain extent accurate, although it started even before that.
Even before that, yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely right. Christianity, it evolved itself around slavery, and a lot of us don't know that history. But so I'm glad that you are explaining all of those details, because we need to know. Coming out of Black History Month, that we just celebrate, we need to know. And as I mentioned earlier on, Black history is every single day. The 80% of the invention and the things that we use for our livelihood today was created and invented by us as
Right.
people.
Thank you, but I have some more questions, and we only have a brief amount of time left. So, Dr. Nelson, as the co-founder of Nakalva International Alumni Association, a non-profit organization, we would like to hear and to know from you why this organization is so important to you.
One of the things that is important to note is that I have retired, and that in retirement I co-founded this corporation with the express purpose of advancing education among our people. So the principal goal of the Nakalva International Alumni Association is to create scholarships and distribute those to needy students. I attended Nakalva Agricultural School, and it inculcated some fundamental discipline and some fundamental work ethics that are critical to success. More importantly, one might say, the institution, along with what used to be called JSA, now CASE, played and continued to play a critical role in developing agriculture in Jamaica. Jamaica is at a stage where food security is imperative. Jamaica needs to make significant strides, and so does the Caribbean as a whole, in terms of food security. That institution, that is NACALVA, has morphed into a polytechnic college, which gives it the capacity to work more scientifically focused to advance best practices in the area of agriculture, food production, and marketing.
Yes.
And so my activities in fundraising currently revolve around providing scholarships for needy students,
Right.
for the purpose I've identified. But let me also note that my experience, and I think the experience of all those who have come from marginalized society, is that
Yes.
there are hundreds and thousands and maybe even millions of individuals who have incredible potential, have great talent, and if appropriately cultivated, we know that they would succeed and make the world a better place. And so the scholarship endeavor is to facilitate precisely that, to make sure that more students who are capable and have this barrier of finances are able to advance and fulfill their potential.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Well, I love. Sorry.
Yes.
Go
Yes, I
ahead.
should say, Joan,
Yes.
it is in that context that we have the event scheduled for March 24th.
That's where I'm coming. That's what I was just about to say. Yes.
It's what-
Let me just say, I love that you combine laughter and comedy in your fundraising efforts. And this leads me to, as you say, the play that you're currently promoting. Look What Fell Out the Mango Tree, with Jamaican actors Deborah Earhart and Christopher Grosset. So we're spilling the beans a little bit, but I'd love you to tell our audience what they can expect from that.
Appreciate the question. I want the audience to recognize that attending this play will be exciting because it is entertaining on the one hand, but it is inspiring on the other.
Yes.
The third dimension is that individuals who attend will be contributing to the scholarship fund that I made mention of earlier. So we're using one strategy to accomplish three significant objectives. So individuals who attend this event will be entertained. There'll be laughter throughout, and don't be surprised if you're also moved to tears. And you will be experiencing storytelling at its very highest level. So it's a kind of event that one does not want to miss, and especially to see that the accomplishments of Jamaicans in the area of theater, and this is theater with a difference.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'd like our listeners to know I have tickets. The Jamaican American Association does. So you can call us at 407-292-3719 for your tickets. And would you like to also give a number or where they can reach you, Dr. Nelson?
Yes, yes, indeed. I can give another number where I can be reached at 734-718-2140. Please call. As a matter of fact, I thought I might make a ticket available for the fifth caller, but
I love it.
I leave that to you, Joan. They call the fifth caller to your number.
Yes, Mr. Lewis, you can have that. And gentlemen, time goes so quickly. I'm so sorry, but that's why I was trying to rush us a little bit. You know, we cannot really say everything we really wanted to do in half an hour. But thank you so much, Dr. Nelson, for coming on. And we're so happy and so proud to have you on CRRFM.
It's my delight, Sister Edghill and Brother Lewis. And thank you so much for the work you do, keeping the community engaged and advancing the arts and culture. This is critical for the strength of the community and the advancement for the young people.
And I love what you're
Dr.
doing
Nelson,
for your
yes.
school. in
We
Jamaica.
thank you so much, sir, and I thank you for your energy, man. Everywhere
Yes.
I go, you're there.
Yes.
I love it.
And
love
he,
it, love it, love
he
it.
needs like 4 hours really to tell his story. It's amazing.
Yes, yes.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
We'll hopefully at some point get him in the studio for a sit-down talk.
Yes,
Looking
indeed.
forward for that in the future.
Yes, indeed.
I'm available. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Dr.
Sister
Nelson.
Joan
Yes.
Edghill.